Hi, I'm Stephen Budden. Some years ago, I was walking along a beach with my father, and I was awakened. And that's what these spiritual traditions are about, uh, carrying forward this experience of having been awakened to other people. Now, let's clarify what awakened means. Does it mean I never had any more problems? No. Does it mean I know the answer before the question is posed? No. It doesn't mean anything of the sort. It's not even necessarily a universal rubric. There's an attempt to put all of these terms in categories that can apply to any human. For me, I just use the word in the sense that, oh, I was asleep, now I'm awake. And even awake can be redefined. I was a passive mechanical being in life, and now I'm an active participating being who can actually will things to happen and then put in the effort to have them happen. Now, with this came this sort of mystical healing ability. It's not like I can touch someone and their wounds are healed, though I can touch someone and often their wounds are healed. And I don't just do this through the touch, I do this by pointing out where they're absent, where they are asleep in their body and mind. So sometimes I adjust someone's posture, I notice where the shoulder's holding and I'm put that down. And then the whole flood of memories and emotions comes up, childhood wounds, the origin of those patterns, etc. Because one thing I've found is that your limitations or your perceived limitations, and they're all perceived, are stemming from an unresolved loop in the past, usually the distant past. Now, what I love about working with high achievers is because it's both a selfish and an altruistic aim. When we break through these barriers, they go out and achieve all this beautiful stuff and make the world a better place. And likewise, I get to experience, wow, that work was powerful and I got to contribute to the world because this person went out and did something beautiful with that. So it's almost like if you are a high achiever and you're running with your foot kind of on the gas and the brake at the same time, you're going to feel a little bit burnt out. You're going to be having to put in much more effort into what you're working on than is necessary, and the results aren't going to be concomitant with the effort. So what we're going to do is clear some of that out from the past. Now, if I were working with you, I'd do something like a life audit. Like I'd come into your life and say, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? If you went to a therapist, they'd ask you about your mother. And sometimes I do say, what's going on with your mother? Because I'll get that intuitive hit. Or because someone talks solely about their father and they're missing this whole piece, this whole side of their body. The left side is like a shadow. That's the feminine side. Relationship to the mother or the maternal in yourself. So that's one piece of the equation. The therapist is on point there. However, what's going on with your shoes? What's going on with your closet? What's going on with your business? Why do you have this chaotic pocket over there that you're pretending you don't need to look at? So this is the most holistic model possible. I call this the Bloom model. The fundamental facets of life have been divided into 12 pieces based on the elegant design of the dandelion. So when you plant that seed in your life, boom, it spreads like wildflower and nothing goes untouched. Now, the overarching purpose of the Bloom model and the last seed is legacy, because legacy is what we're working to do, create a lasting legacy. What does that mean? Gurdjieff taught that we were born without a soul. Take this metaphorically if you need to. We're born without a soul, and it's our purpose in this life to behave in a certain way that's aligned with the human architecture and cultivate a soul so that this peace lasts beyond us. That's one definition, one perspective of a legacy. Another one is the wealth, the generational wealth, etc. you leave to your children. Now, in my experience, and I've been astounded about this again and again, is that people have one little thing they didn't do, and that can catapult their results 10 times. Now, the thing is, they're the least likely person to see that thing. Just like an artist is the worst judge of their own work. Do you know de Kooning is famous for these paintings of women, these visceral sort of paintings with a big, robust woman verging on abstraction? And that was discovered by a critic. The first one was discovered out by the trash can. He was like, what are these? Why are there these masterpieces in the trash can? De Kooning's like, oh, I threw those away. Those are terrible. And he went back to this sort of rigid abstract work that wouldn't have impacted history at all, in my opinion. And so the critic brought it back in and go, no. Work on that more because that's your thing. And you're the artist in your own life. You're the one that can't see your best results. You need some objective perspective. Now, objectivity is the highest state you can achieve, in my experience. Making objective art, as Gurdjieff called it, or life as it is, seeing life as it is, as the Buddha phrased it in Sanskrit. So we are on this earth to achieve a certain thing, to fill our vibrational necessity, to uplift the world. And I believe there are a few timelines that we can enter, and I'm inviting you to a better one, a higher one, a more powerful one. And am I talking to you? Which part of you am I talking to? Because one part will go, oh yes, that's me. And another part will go, oh, that's not me. I'm afraid. This guy's a scammer, etc. Whatever mechanics keep you stuck in the wound. Okay? And that's most people. So you that are going to pass this by, goodbye. Like, I won't see you again, most likely. You're gone. Right? You're just back into the flow, the state of unawakened being. Not flow as in you being in flow. I write about flow a lot. I wrote a book called Flow. Not that state where you're in absolute utter peace and harmony with the being and the doing that you're participating in. The flow is in you're rushing in the current and you have no energy, you have no power, you have no will. And you can't do anything. You're mechanically, things are being done through you. Star influences, politicians moving you here and there. Like, maybe you've been a pawn. And I was a pawn before I broke my neck. I was a pawn before I had this awakening experience. I ignored the awakening experience. I didn't ignore it. It was like so fundamentally woven into the fabric of my being after that. However, I didn't fully step into the alignment of that. So I was awakened on a beach. I broke my neck. Some years later, slam! A wave slammed me into the ocean floor. Boom! So as I ignore the calls and you get ignore the whisper and you get screams. So the first one was a whisper. Hey, come on over here. Life is being lived. It's like E.B. White said of Thoreau's Walden. It's like an invitation to life's dance. I always think of that phrase. Hey, life is over here. Come and dance. I used to be depressed walking through the forest when I lived in a cabin. A little leaf would fall down. That would remind me, after this experience, oh, life's inviting me to dance again. All this other framework of depression and anxiety are me living in circles in my mind. The mind, it's not even mine, a lot of it. It's a collective, perceptual, unconscious BS that Sufis and Jung and all these other people, ancient and modern, touched on it. In modern times, it's harder. When I say something like, your foot might be connected to your relationship. A scientist now, the fundamental worldview would be like, what? That's impossible. What would a foot have to do with a relationship? Well, your whole life has to do with your whole life. When someone asks what's your most important organ, can we pull out this one? They're all the most important. It's like that Zen saying, what's the most, a master butcher was cutting up meat and someone came to his shop. What's the best piece of meat in the shop? He said, they're all the best. He put so much effort in them, they're all equally essential. And that's you, every cell in your body. I know there's senescent cells, there's fasting that gets those out, which I am going to do a 7-day dry fast in a couple of days if you want to be a part of that. You are fundamental, and all these pieces of you, which we mistake as pieces, are essential. Now, I told the story, I had a client where her feet were bound up. I unbound those. I don't always do somatic touch-based work. I sometimes do that. It's been my laboratory for the human experience. That's how I know much of what I know. I learned it through these awakening experiences. I went out and tested it. And what I learned was that I knew nothing. And that's what I want you to know. You know nothing too. And that's a beautiful place to be, because life is meaningless. And that's a beautiful state for life to be, because you create the meaning. Your conscious will, the conscious will of others, intertwines and creates the world. Now, a lot of people are more passive observers, and you build up this energy in you through posture, watching your mental chatter, nourishment, all these pieces, and you become one of the power players. You become one of the kings. Even though you're not one of these corrupt politicians, you are one of the kings in the sense that life is watching you suddenly, and you are the leader of your domain. As silly as that is parodied in so many jokes about the man in the living room, that becomes reality. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, because maybe you've been one or the other in a past life. Nor does it matter if you can't decide which one you are. That's not really relevant to the paradigm right now. You know, your mind's being pulled in all these ways, hijacked, usurped. The people at the top of this process have a clear agenda, and you need to have a clear directive for your own life. And I encourage you to get this from this light that blooms in you, from your core, from your heart. If there's this truth in the center of your being, you know what you are and you know what you want. That's a Lao Tzu paraphrase from the Tao Te Ching. Bad translation of one, even so. So build this in yourself, gather your riches in heaven, cultivate this soul so that you are alive as possible. It doesn't really matter what tradition it is anymore. Maybe one day it did. You could practice any religion or no religion, meditation, yoga. Finding ways to center your being is, I think, essential. I think meditation, sitting there, I do perambulations. I like to walk around while I'm meditating. I get the most clear directives and I get out of like my patterns of familiarity, and that really supports me. So welcome to the other side. Okay, I'm Stephen Budden, author of a few books. Comment or reach out to me, find me. I know you can do it, and we'll see if we fit together. I have a few ways of working with you. Some are in groups and some are privately, so they run the gamut of interaction, your needs, and you're going to learn a lot about the way the mind is working through you, the way the universe is working through you, and the things you can do to become empowered again. You're going to learn a lot of what I learned spontaneously, a lot of what I unlearned, and I've worked with clients for over 10 years now from all walks of life. I help leaders deepen their impact, heal their life, and create a lasting legacy so they can move forward in the world and become beacons of light for others. That's what we need most right now. We need you. So I'm Stephen Budden. I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.